Hello, dear friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We have come with another information. Today is another day. I pray that God will be with you and bless you going out and coming in. Dear friends, we are here for you. And if you are there for us, why don't you share and hit the subscribe and like button for us? Because if we are not here, enemies will stay to speak against us to the international communities. And that's why we insist that we must continue. All right, please keep supporting us and we'll keep doing that which we know how best to do for Biafrans. Here comes another update, and we pray that you please listen to the end. I'll be right back.
Finland has no business dealing with a third world country like Nigeria to help to sabotage the interest of the Biafrans, the Christians. Finland, we know your history. We know part of the Vikings' history. The lineage for the Vikings shows that you guys, you're leaning towards Islam. Hence, you're working with the Fulani Caliphate. Those who were sponsoring Boko Haram with USAID. Finland, be careful. Do not put your hands in the cookie jar, because when it happens, you might be found wanting. The game you're playing with Nigeria might turn around and eat you from the backside. When you play with the wet paint, whenever you are ready to let go that paint, that wall, your body will be stained with paint. Today, the nonsense Finland is doing to a black Finnish citizen, Mazi Ekpa Simon Njoku, has been checkmated. I wanted to hear what the Vice President of USA said, J.D. Vance. They call this one a shame to European leaders, to their faces. And he left the room. They were all stunned. This happened in Munich, Germany. They were shocked. They never saw this coming. Hence, we are calling on Finland to wash their hands off Simon Ekpa's case. Because Finland is colluding with a third world country, a terrorist country known as Nigeria. Finland is doing this to a black Finnish citizen by the name Simon Ekpa. So I want you to understand the significance of the speech given by J.D. Vance. Very, very important. And at the end, you will now see that Trump has come to stamp his authority in Europe. Fellow Biafrans, if you're ready, lend me your ears. I present to you J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States of America. Thank you.
Introduced, I understand, by the chairman of the Munich Security Conference. Let's listen in. There he is.
I wanted to talk about today is, of course, our shared values. And, you know, it's great to be back in Germany. As you heard earlier, I was here last year as United States Senator. I saw Foreign Secretary David Lammy, and joked that both of us last year had different jobs than we have now. But now it's time for all of our countries, for all of those who have been fortunate enough to be given political power by our respective peoples, to use it wisely to improve their lives. And I want to say that, you know, I was fortunate in my time here to spend some time outside the walls of this conference over the last 24 hours. And I've been so impressed by the hospitality of the people, even as, of course, as they're reeling from yesterday's horrendous attack. And the first time I was ever in Munich was with my wife, actually, who's here with me today, on a personal trip. And I've always loved the city of Munich, and I've always loved its people. And I just want to say that we're very moved, and our thoughts and prayers are with Munich and everybody affected by the evil inflicted on this beautiful community. We're thinking about you, we're praying for you, and we will certainly be rooting for you in the days and weeks to come. Now, I hope that's not the last bit of applause that I get, but we gather at this conference, of course, to discuss security, and normally we mean threats to our external security. I see many great military leaders gathered here today. But while the Trump administration is very concerned with European security and believes that we can come to a reasonable settlement between Russia and Ukraine, and we also believe that it's important in the coming years for Europe to step up in a big way to provide for its own defense, the threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values, values shared with the United States of America. Now, I was struck that a former European commissioner went on television recently and sounded delighted that the Romanian government had just annulled an entire election. He warned that if things don't go to plan, the very same thing could happen in Germany too. Now, these cavalier statements are shocking to American ears. For years, we've been told that everything we fund and support is in the name of our shared democratic values. Everything from our Ukraine policy to digital censorship is billed as a defense of democracy. But when we see European courts canceling elections and senior officials threatening to cancel others, we ought to ask whether we're holding ourselves to an appropriately high standard. And I say ourselves because I fundamentally believe that we are on the same team. We must do more than talk about democratic values, we must live them. Now, within living memory of many of you in this room, the Cold War positioned defenders of democracy against much more tyrannical forces on this continent. And consider the side in that fight that censored dissidents, that closed churches, that canceled elections. Were they the good guys? Certainly not. And thank God they lost the Cold War. They lost because they neither valued nor respected all of the extraordinary blessings of liberty. The freedom to surprise, to make mistakes, to invent, to build. As it turns out, you can't mandate innovation or creativity, just as you can't force people what to think, what to feel, or what to believe. And we believe those things are certainly connected. And unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief.
J.D. Vance, Mr. Vice President, we also want you to look at Finland at this point because they are no longer upholding what they call the rule of law in Europe or in Finland. As we speak, we now have Finland working with third world countries, Islamic countries like Nigeria, that breed and groom terrorists. And suddenly, those who are fighting for their own liberty, the Biafrans, we the Christians, as you all know, the war between Islam and Christianity is real, especially in Africa. Nigeria have been grooming Boko Haram, ISIS, ISWAP, with the point and a viewpoint to make sure they are able to Islamize Nigeria. And by proxy, everyone, be the Christians, will also be Islamized. Hence, the quest for our independence. Once again, we are calling and yelling for the independence of a sovereign state of Biafra because we Biafrans are largely Christians and we don't believe in being Islamized or being terrorist. Hence, on the month of November 2024, we redeclared our independence in Latin Finland. But guess what? A week to the date of our redeclaration, Finland colluded with Nigeria to arrest our leader, His Excellency, Mazi Simon Ekpa. And since the 29th of November, when our independence was redeclared till this day, it is now 3 months and counting. It has been close to 100 days, and our leader, Simon Ekpa, is still being held in Finland incommunicado. They said they will charge him with terrorism, but till this day, no charges has been brought against him. And guess what? For 100 days, he's been held in a dungeon in Finland without any rule of law being respected, without having any fair trial. This is what Finland is turning into. So to the Vice President, I really appreciate and re-echo your words when you said things are changing in Finland or in Europe, which has been the #1 ally to America. But all I want to say is, as you touch on Sweden, we also want you to shine a light on Finland. Because what they are doing is wrong. It is against the tenets of freedom, democracy, and the rule of law.